Whiskey 4 Foxtrot.
Whiskey 4 Foxtrot. Go ahead.
KC9VKV. This is WW4F. Name here is Darrell. Delta Alpha Romeo Romeo Echo Lima Lima. QTH is Glen Allen, Virginia. Glen Allen, Virginia. That's just outside Richmond. Over to you, Jim. KC9VKV from WW4F.
Roger, Roger. What's the name there, sir?
Name is Darrell.
Roger, Darrell. And what kind of antenna are you running, sir?
I have an inverted B, and the rig is a Flex 6400, and the microphone is it's just a Radio Shack electric element. The electric element inside of a modified a broken Electro Voice 664 bass. So I have the mechanical parts from a nice heavy microphone, the Electro Voice 664, but the element is electric. Back to you, Jim. KC9VKV from WW4F.
Roger, Roger. We have a very similar situation here. I have also a home brew with an Electret. I'm using an ART preamp to give me my phantom power supply and my preamp audio. Roger. Roger.
I selected the amplifier and the bias and the 20 dB gain in the setup menu for the Flex. So by listening to a recording, recording myself operating to a dummy load, the voice sounded pretty normal. So that's the operating conditions here.
Roger, Roger. Sounds good. It could do a little fattening if you'd be interested. Yeah, Darrell, it could use a little fattening. Right now, it looks like about maybe a 6 dB dynamic range. We'd want to pull that to about a 3 dB. Be nice, fat, but very transparent. Not sounding anything at all like up against the wall, but just loud. Roger.
I could back off the microphone a little bit, and that's what I'm trying to go for. Is be about 10-12 inches off of the microphone. So. I just backed off a little bit. So how about that, Jim? KC9VKV from WW4F.
Roger, Roger. Well, our tune-up procedure starts with engaging your compressor at a 3. Engage your processor at about a 3. This is not a very much of a compression, but it does exactly what you want it to do. A lot of folks misuse their compressor to where it tries to suck up the cows mooing in the South 40 between words. We want it when it expands to not even be noticeable. So that's why we suggest a 3 input level to your compressor. Roger?
Roger, Jim. So I've engaged the processor here on the Flex 6400. It's now operating about 10-12 inches off of the microphone. So, and I've got my mic level is about let's say 60%, 60-70% on peak, and compression is hitting about peaking out about 30%. So, how about that? WW4F audio test. Back to you, Jim.
Roger, Roger. Now, after you get your compressor in line at about a 3, then move to your ALC meter. And what you want to do is adjust your mic level until your ALC meter is reading mid-scale to 2/3. Adjust your, as you speak, and adjust your microphone normally at the normal position, at the normal volume. Not like you're going to set a level or anything, but you're just speaking naturally. Then with the mic gain, you adjust your ALC meter to where it's running mid-scale to 2/3 in transmit.
Okay, Jim. I can. I'm a good. I can back off on the mic gain a little bit. I was at 70. I'll back that down to about 60, and now I'm hitting about 50% there on the ALC. So, was that any improvement?
Yes, sir. We're coming along. The ideal sweet spot is that space between mid-scale and two-thirds. That space between mid-scale and two-thirds is the sweet spot. So you want to be just a little bit more than midway, but not more than three-quarters. And when you get seated in there, that would take your dynamic range to about 3 dB. And with a 3 dB dynamic range, your average percent of peak modulation should be around 80 to 85%.
Okay, Jim. Roger, so I can bring that back a little bit, and so I should bring that up in between mid-scale and three-quarters. It's about right there. Just about right. I hope, that should be about it.
Roger. And the other thing is that we recommend doing a thing to look at your average percent of peak modulation that you can control through your voice. And that is if you take your watt meter and turn it around to where you can see it as you speak and put the watt meter in the PEP mode so it's moving fairly quickly. And through your voice and the rate of your speech, you want to keep the watt meter in the sweet spot position. Now, you know where that watt meter normally goes, so you want to keep that right at the, that higher point just by the rate that you speak and the consistency of the loudness of the words.
Okay. So I got, so I'm running connected to my Flex 6400. I have a Elecraft KPA 500, and I'm pretty consistently hitting 500 watts. Over to you, Jim. KC9VKV from WW4F.
Roger. Yes, the peaks are important, but the more important thing on this practice is the continuance of the meter in the air. You want to try to keep that meter ballistically centered on that sweet spot. So in order to, if you talk like this, there's no way that you can keep that meter up. But if you're talking at a reasonable rate, then we're trying to keep those words coming at the same intensity, then you can achieve that point of keeping that meter up in the air. So you have a very consistent and loud station. It takes years to really develop that habit, but you get better and better hour by hour that you do it.
Okay, Jim. Well, thank you for all your advice and this little exercise. I appreciate that. I know there are a number of people out there waiting to check in with you. So I'll say 73 and turn it back over to you. KC9VKV from Darrell, WW4F.
Roger, Darrell, pleasure, sir. 3's that way, and we have been recording since 3:30. So if you would like to hear what your audio sounds like, and I think you had a handle on it that last transmission, you were speaking a little bit faster, and your words were more consistent volume-wise. So as I'm looking at your audio signal on the output of my receiver, I'm looking at a VU meter that's tied to the output of my receiver, so I can see how well those words were hanging up on the VU meter instead of falling off between words. So if you want to hear that, go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That will take you to our Qso-Vlog page. On that page, we're running about 1,040 recorded Qso-Vlogs. You'll be looking for one in specific. It's called My Group Air Check 3/27/20. My Group Air Check 3/27/20, today's date. Roger?
Roger, Jim. Thank you very much.
Roger, 3's there, and you have a great afternoon, beautiful weekend, and if you get a chance, join us next Friday at between 3:30 and 5. Love to have you. And gosh, we are 5 o'clock, and I turn into a pumpkin. I'm starting to turn now, but I have room for one more air check. Who will it be? KC9VKV listening.